Hi everyone, welcome to Tonkocast number 21. We have two of our favorite people that we were able to talk to for this 21st Tonkocast.
That's right, and this year's Oscar is coming up in about a week, and we were able to talk to Glen Keane and Max Keane, Glen's son. Both of them worked on Dear Basketball and the movie that got nominated for the short animated film category.
Yeah, Glen is a legendary animator from Disney, animated Little Mermaid, Beast, Tarzan. I mean, all of the amazing characters that I know I grew up with in the Disney films. But left Disney at a point where, he had, one of the most successful careers as a Disney animator. But left to strike out on his own with Max and Jenny Rim, his producer, to start their own studio, Glen Keane Studios. And Tonko House and Glen Keane Studios have had a very interesting kind of shared experience.
We got connected. We started our studio just around the same time, and I think both studios, trying to figure out what to do with the experience and talent we have, and in a way we bonded so much because we struggle the same, with the same stuff, and also we were both super passionate animation filmmakers. Of course, Glen being such a legend in animation industry, there was a bit of a surprise how he treated us as if we're his peers.
Yeah, and it's actually not just us. I feel like, in spending more time with Glen, it's the way he treats everyone, and it's just with the utmost respect and care and interest in people and artists, and I think Max is the same way, and we've just grown to really depend on them, to kind of be someone we go to in times where we just need to be reminded as to why we're doing this. And so we had a great little conversation with them talking about their studio, some of their upcoming projects, Dear Basketball and how it came to be, and a little bit about our relationship. So here's Tonko House number 21.
So honored to spend time with you, especially in this busy time for you guys. And I guess the first topic is definitely Dear Basketball. First of all, congratulations for your nominations, and ceremony is coming up in 10 days or so.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
How did this project start, and who initiated? Obviously, with the Kobe Bryant's big involvement. How did this whole start?
Well, so yeah, Kobe and Max and I never met before this project. And it's not the kind of thing that normally happens that have Kobe Bryant decided to want to come over to the studio and talk, but that happened. It was really through an introduction from Karen Dufalo, who was our executive producer at Google for Spotlight Stories. And Kobe had seen Duet, and he was also familiar with my work from Disney. And there was something in that. It could possibly be the fact that Duet was so much like just a visual poem. And it had been in his head to do something with animation. So he came over for a visit where it was him, and he arrived along with Vanessa and his two girls, and there was Max and Jenny and I and my wife, and who else was that?
Karen and
Karen.
Her two girls.
Yeah, and everybody was jammed into my little animation office. We were tight in there. And it was one of those surreal moments, like
super surreal. I think that goes down as one of the most surreal moments, was because at the studio we have like a little gate, and you walk through this little gate and onto like a little grassy area, And then the studio is a duplex, so we have the smaller, the lower ceiling size duplex. And Kobe comes walking up, and it's like this icon that you've seen so many times, and and he's huge. And he walked up, and I was just like, "Hey, Kobe!" And I put out my hands, and I'm Max. Just like, I don't think. Yeah, I never thought I'd ever say that to Kobe Bryant and like be shaking this giant hand, like
Yeah.
And then to go back into your office and sit with him and his family, and Karen and her little girls, and like the kids are seated on the ground, and we were just all. It felt like, I don't know, like something you would do at a family gathering or like a holiday thing. Everyone just kind of sitting around, and you and Kobe are talking about Beethoven and.
Yeah, we immediately connected. Well, at first we connected on the idea of leaving behind a career, like for me at Disney and Kobe with the Lakers, and how stepping into something new was really exciting and challenging and a little scary, and how important that is. I mean, we related on that level. I very quickly confessed that I was the worst basketball player on earth, and that that was not a connection point. Though in animation, you can be anything you can imagine. So, but at this point, we weren't really talking about doing Dear Basketball. He hadn't written it yet. It was more of a connection of I love animation. I mean, I think we were surprised that he was such an animation geek, and so I started to draw Little Mermaid and different characters, and just talk about animation. And his girls were fascinated, and Kobe was kind of geeking out about all of that, and it was really wonderful to realize that, I don't know, that just drawing characters on a piece of paper had connected deeply to Kobe, and that this was a real moment where, I mean, I had watched him so many times in his games where I would be in a story session, remember on Treasure Planet, and having to leave work to get home because Kobe was going to be playing, and watching him, and here he was in our office talking about animation. And then at a certain point, we started talking about music. And I don't know who brought it up first, but how important music was. And I think Kobe.
I think he brought it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Kobe brought up how he had played one of the championship games to Beethoven's Fifth in his head, and how important the structure, dramatic structure of music, and structuring how you play a game, that it's not just all one, sprint all the way through, but you are really pacing yourself, and you come out strong, really strong. Dun, 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 and he was playing it in his head. And when he was saying that, I was like, wait, I can't believe it. I mean, Beethoven's Ninth for me has been that. How many times I've animated to my characters to the ninth. Beast's transformation was all to Beethoven's Ninth. And so we connected on this really obscure level creatively about Beethoven. And sort of like,
yeah,
I think I could hang out with you. And I think that's how he felt about us.
Wow.
He also had mentioned that after scoring the game to Beethoven's, what was it, fifth?
Fifth, yeah.
That he called John Williams, because you can do that when you're Kobe. And because he wanted to pick his brain about song structure and composing, and trying to find that parallel between like team leading and cultivating that that cohesiveness that you get with composing music, if you can have the same kind of composition or composing of a team, I guess, which was really interesting that
yeah
he was already connecting sort of things peripherally.
Well, and that's when I think I realized something about Kobe that just continued to grow through the whole time working with him, that his greatest skill was not as an athlete, but was as somebody who was like a sponge. He wanted to learn, always wants to learn, and really a serious student of whatever, something new, he's going to learn it. That was really impressive. Very quiet, very quiet. I mean, sometimes it was like really working to hear what he was saying. He just was not the aggressive Mamba on the court. He was in our little studio. After we met, we spent that time together. It was clear, I want to do something with you in animation. We didn't know what it was. And then that was sometime in the fall, and he was coming up to his final season. He knew it was his final season, and that's why
he was coming off the Achilles injury.
Yeah,
that had taken him out.
Oh, gosh, unbelievable that you could actually come back after that. So this was going to be his final season, and in his head he was going to write this letter to basketball. And he did around Christmas time, something like that. He wrote it first, one version that turned out not to be the one he kept. That was more of like a cathartic version where there was frustration and anger about not being able to keep going with this. And it was more aggression towards basketball. And then he said, I got that out. And then I wrote Dear Basketball. And as I wrote it, I knew I wanted it to be animated. And I knew as I wrote it that I wanted John Williams to score it. When did we talk to John Williams?
Yeah, it was
early on.
Yeah, but it was not until we had already gone through storyboarding and really fleshed out something to.
That's right. Yeah. So Kobe called John Williams right after he wrote that and said, would you do the score for this? And John said, well, yes, I'd be interested in, I've got this Star Wars gig, and but if it's okay, maybe we could use the Star Wars orchestra. And Kobe's like, yeah, no, that's okay. We could do that. Yeah. So, but then we didn't talk about doing this Dear Basketball until after his final game. Max and I were here at the studio on his final game, which was an unbelievable event. I mean, I don't think there's ever been anybody in sports history who's had a final swan song in their sport like he did. To have his final game scored 60 points and won what seemed like there was not.
Yeah.
They were like 12, 15 points behind or something like that, and 3 minutes left, and Kobe just never missed. He just never missed. It was weird. And Max and I were screaming our heads off here at the studio watching this. And so actually, yeah, before the game, texting Kobe, wishing him luck, and he's responding right. I was like, what are you doing? You shouldn't be responding to me. You should be, this is your last game. And then it was the day after, he texted and he said, let's do this. Will you do Dear Basketball? And I really want it to be hand-drawn. I want it to have a very handcrafted feel. And I mean, he just said everything in that text that was, because it was really texting. That's how we often communicated. It just felt so much in our world like duet was hand-drawn. He was using a lot of duet as kind of a springboard for what he wanted it to feel like. And so we started to storyboard it out. Actually, I had to leave to go to France for some reason. And
dumped it on me.
Well, yeah. Well,
No, kidding.
Max said, "Hey, do you mind if I start to storyboard?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, yeah." So you sat down and you started boarding while I was gone. And my thoughts were, this is a guy who has given everything in his career, and here he has opened his heart, very vulnerably presented his story, his love for this game. And I took it really seriously as to what's the big message in this? And that's what I'm thinking of. And when I came back and I looked at what Max's boards were, I was like, wow, I hadn't been thinking that at all. You want to talk about what you...
I didn't do anything special. I just read the lines and I drew images that corresponded to what he said.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Well, that's a smart idea when you're boarding.
Super unpoetic. It's very one for one. I think that literal interpretation of what he was saying initially was really important for him, because those details of rolling a sock and him being a 6-year-old boy sitting in his bedroom, living out this dream as a 6-year-old, was really literally what he was doing. And that is like the memory that he experienced, and he wanted, I think, the audience to get that that dreaming when you're a kid, and that the purity of what it is to dream, and to have that goal when you're so young, and also there's just something very odd about rolling up tube socks to turn into a basketball. I thought that there was something really sweet in that too, because they were his dad's tube socks, because his dad was a basketball player. And so Kobe said his dad's tube socks were huge. So he'd have to roll them up really tightly, and he had the whole system worked out to how he could roll up the tube sock to make it feel like a basketball, so it wouldn't like unravel when he shot it on I guess he had a little plastic hoop that he would imagine himself shooting at the forum or whatever.
Well, and our first, then we went down to Kobe's studio down in Newport Beach. He really wanted to show us how to do it, and we filmed it. We shot some iPhone or whatever, how Kobe was rolling it, tucking it so it wouldn't fall apart. But when I saw what Max had storyboarded, my head wasn't in that. My head was in something like big, and what's the big message to this thing? And I skipped over like the most obvious thing ever since I started rolling my dad's tube socks. And it was a detail, and it was like a real memory, like our earliest memories may be the sound of I don't know, a door shutting and a creak of a spring, or I don't know, there's certain lights that I have in my head as my earliest memories, and they're very specific. They're very small and seemingly unimportant to somebody else, but they open up my whole childhood for me. And I think that's where he was at. All of the details, the posters on the wall had to be the exact posters, and he was texting us images of the poster. The way he put the chairs on the basketball court, Kobe sketched those chairs out so that we would put them just the way they were. The video cassette player that he had on his bed, and he put in the video cassette and watch. He really wanted all of that to be authentic. And
because he knew that if this had come out and he saw it, that he would comb through every little last detail, and that he would be extracting the meaning out of all those little things, like, what are the posters? He would want to know that if this was Michael Jordan had made this video, or
I know that for me, like with animation, I mean, anything I could dig up on Freddie Moore or Bill Teitla I'd search through. This is in the old days when the archives were, you could go in and look around. I'd say, hey, can I just look and see if you got any old Freddie Moore drawings? Oh, this guy Leroy would say, yeah, go ahead, I'm back there. And I'd go and pull behind old Snow White scenes, and I'd find like a whole stash of Freddie Moore drawings that he drew over other people's work. And Leroy, look, here's a whole bunch of Freddie Moore stuff. Wow. Oh, yeah, well, huh. I figured there might be something back here you could find. Can I take these? Yeah, we'll just bring them back. So, and I did, which many people didn't. All those drawings are gone now. I mean, over the years, different people came and found those, and, you know, those are the ones that you can buy online or for sale, I guess, now. But I didn't take them. I brought them back. But there was something so wonderful and real about Freddie Moore, and if I could find a photo of him, if I could have anything that connected to how he grew, it was important for me as an artist to feel like it was possible for me.
When you guys found out about the nomination, did you talk to Kobe right away, or was it something you guys expected? How did that all come? This great news.
Well, I was in bed with Linda, my wife, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning. My iPhone is starting to go ding, 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 ding. All these people are saying, hey, they're going to announce the Academy Awards nominees. So I went and made some coffee, and we sat in bed and watched it. And I've watched that before, where we were wondering if we were going to be nominated or not. And I know that empty feeling when you're not. And so I was sort of like, okay, just preparing myself. Like, all right, just nice. You wake up early, have a cup of coffee. That'll be good enough. But then they announce your name. I was like, whoa, this is really cool. We're gonna go to the Academy Awards for the first time in my life. Been doing this for a long time, but I've never had a chance really to go for anything other than watching somebody else go up. And I don't know, it was just a pinch me moment.
Yeah. Well, the nomination is for Glen and Kobe, but to be able to be a part of it, a part of something that does get nominated, was pretty exciting. Though it was 5 a.m, my dad texted me, and I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, so like finally sleeping, and I was just like, who texted me at 5 a.m? Because I had totally forgotten about the nominations, and then I looked and I was like, I can't believe it. All right, I'll celebrate after like another hour of sleep. Yeah, that was thrilling. I was never thinking about Academy Awards or anything like that when we started working on it. It wasn't even like,
no.
I don't know. I really wasn't putting it in that context.
It's interesting. I was talking with Kobe about this the other day, about that day. He said, yeah, he was up. His daughter had been wanting to just train more for basketball. So he said, well, you're going to have to get up early and before school. She said, okay. So they've been getting up for the last month at 4 o'clock in the morning training. I mean, she's on Kobe's schedule. And so it was out there on the court that he heard, somebody called and told him that he was nominated. And his daughter said, hey, Dad, see what, yeah, you went for it. And, with hard work, this is what you get. And she just said stuff back to him that he'd been saying to her. And he remembered there was a certain point where he was wondering, I don't know, should I really do this? Should I do this whole thing in animation? And his daughter had said, well, Dad, you always tell us to go for it. So, yeah, I mean, Dad, go for it. And I told Kobe, I said, I had a similar kind of a moment where I'm deciding, is this something should we do this? I don't know about basketball. I mean, and talking to Max, and I remember just standing right outside of our little office here, just kind of in this conversation, and you said, Dad, I mean, this is a once in a lifetime chance. You got to go for it. It was like, this is a parallel sort of conversations that we were having with our kids at that same moment. And that was the coolest thing, to be able to do this project with Max, all the way through it. I mean, the look of the whole thing is really because of Max. He kind of celebrates the line and lifts it off the page and presents it as something worth watching, and values the creative line on a piece of paper. And he was constantly encouraging me, no, leave it rough. Don't clean it up. This is good. This is good. It's really nice to have somebody saying that.
I'm really glad that this project is what you're getting recognized for, because every frame is drawing. Yeah. And it's done in a style that is really coming out of you, and there's no character design being imposed on it or something. It's really uninflected or unaffected you.
Uh-huh.
This project, I think, out of all the ones, you work the hardest at the skill of illustrating. I mean, the animation was incredible and studied and so restrained, in a sense, to be true to the movement. But just the draftsmanship, I think, is pretty outstanding.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
We'd love to hear the journey that the Glen Keane Studios is taking, and some of the announcements that we've heard. And obviously Tonko House, and we are independent studios as well, and just always have been such a huge fan of what you guys have been doing. And can you guys talk a little bit about the state of your projects that you have in development, and as much as you can talk about, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think we can be like ultra specific yet, for because of bigger pieces at play, I guess. But I'm developing a kid show, and I've sold that, and so now I'm gonna go into production on that soon.
And I'm doing some work with Max on that.
Yeah,
which is really pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
because Max has done the designs of all the characters, but I'm trying to bring in some drawing for them to be modeled in CG. Mm-hmm. So I go over his drawings and I bring him in to his office, and and he's pointing out like, I don't know, I think this is not. It's a little bit more, and he starts to describe what he wants in the character and how I'm missing it. And I'm afraid I'm going to get fired. I feel like I'm going into my boss, and he's going to fire me. Like, okay, all right, I'll do better. I'll do better next time. And I go across the hall, and I keep working on it.
Yeah, it's awesome. He comes in with drawings on animation paper, and I go, "What do you got? What do you got for me, Kenny?"
That's great. So this show, Max, you're directing. This is your story, and it's a series.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I think the exciting thing is like, you guys have been working on the short, and the studio is moving forward, and this is a big project. I mean, just being an independent studio and knowing what it means to sell a project and get something off the ground. I mean, you guys, like you said, Max, you guys are in a duplex, but you guys will have to grow to be able to do this project, and all of those things are very, very exciting. And just, hearing more and more about it, it's just, it's a big project for studios like ours or like yours to be able to take on, and it's super exciting, and we're definitely watching eagerly. And
Totally.
I know we can't say much, but it's...
Yeah, thank you so much, Robert. Yeah, we're proud of it, and I know we've picked your guys' brains, and it's been invaluable. Just having people like yourselves around to be able to even talk to and give support to one another is, it's priceless.
Yeah, it's really, I can't wait for the world to kind of see what's inside Max's head. It's really sweet and endearing, and without saying, we can't say much about it, so
totally.
we'll just let everyone else wait to see.
Something to wait for.
Yeah.
And then Glenn, if you could talk a little bit about your feature that was announced a few weeks ago, I believe.
Yeah. Well, before mentioning that, I just wanted to point out how Tonko House Studio is been such an inspiration for us. I mean, there's something very going into the unknown and creating your own little place. And after being at studios like Disney or Pixar, where you have all of the support and all this gigantic team of creative talent around you, and you feel like you go off on your own, and how do you do it? What do you do? I mean, what's the right way to do it? And I must be doing it the wrong way, but this is the only way that I know. And you start doing it your way. And it meant so much to us to visit you guys early on when we were just starting as well, and to see you doing it your way. I can't tell you how encouraging that was for us to come back here. I still think of that, just sitting in your tiny little one-room, I don't know how big it was. It was tiny.
Yeah.
And you just done Dam Keeper, and gosh, it was like, how did these guys do this? This is so wonderful. And you spun gold out of straw, and it wouldn't have happened in the big studio. And it's really important that these little groups like yours, like ours, connects and encourages one another and others to do the same thing. I really believe, when Ollie Johnston was saying to me early on, he said, "Glenn, you're going to do greater things than us someday." Like, oh gosh, I wish he'd never said that. I mean, who's going to do greater than Pinocchio? And you carry that around, and now I realize, oh, he was talking like greater in application. I mean, taking these principles and applying them in new ways. And sometimes you've got to leave like the big studio structure in order to do that. And that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing. So a big part of animation for me is sharing, teaching, passing on in the way that was passed on to me by Frank and Ollie and Eric, and when I was 20 years old. And so I've been speaking and traveling, and this summer I went to Annecy and spoke and talked about thinking like a child, and how that same spark that we have when we're kids, that's the same thing that you got to hang on to that when you're a professional, and the older you get, the more precious that is. Well, in the audience was Melissa Cobb and Palin Chow, and Melissa Cobb became the head of Netflix, and Palin the head of Pearl Studios, and they both had developed this project before Pearl and Netflix, called Over the Moon. And when they heard me speak, they thought, that's a guy, we got to have him direct, which is a really nice way to have somebody feel like you are the right director when they've just heard you speak and you weren't in any way selling yourself to them. Instead, I was just talking entirely about what moves me creatively. And they said, you're right for this project. And they were. I mean, this character Fei Fei is very much a character that if I'm going to animate something, I would animate her. A character that believes the impossible is possible. She's going to build this rocket to the moon. I mean, this is ridiculous. Well, how is she going to do that? And she's going to meet a goddess up there, Chang'e, who lives on the dark side of the moon and it believes in love that lasts forever. This is such a fantasy character, a girl that can keep in her head a belief in what you can't see and a scientific mathematical mind to actually build this rocket, because it's like a Miyazaki meets Peter Pan kind of a story. And it's, I don't know, so we're just getting started on it now. And it's a chance for me to do something in a longer form and not lose any of the poetic, personal expressiveness that we've been doing in the shorter form.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a big key to being able to like have these multiple things going is somebody like Jenny, our producer, who's able to, I don't know, she thrives in situations where there's a lot going on. And she's really able to keep nurturing projects and find the right people to support that idea and find the right people to support this idea. And yeah, just she's the biggest glue and creative supporter.
Yeah,
not here now.
Has been. She and I were working together at Disney when I left. She left not long after and became our producer for Duet, and has this gift of seeing something that's hidden inside. There's a proverb that says, the plans in a person's heart are like deep water, but someone of understanding can draw them out. And it's very much that way. I mean, I watched Jenny for a couple of years helping get what was inside of Max out to where it's actually now it's going to be made. Same thing for me. And there's things that I've still got there that she knows, and she's still kind of blowing on that flame to kind of keep it alive. And it's going to get done one of these days. Over the Moon stepped in, and I'm seeing that's all a big part of it, which Jenny is going to be producing that as well, and also Max's project. Yeah, she's the indispensable person in this little triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys really have Glen Keane Studios, the family of Glen Keane Studios is just a collection of incredible people from top to bottom. And, I mean, Glenn, really thank you for saying such nice things about Tonko House, but it really is kind of a mutual thing. And I got to say that every visit to Glen Keane Studio has, not out of a planned way, but been a really important visit for us in terms of oftentimes, it's landed in a place where we really needed it, I think, where we just, it's just so easy to lose sight of your North Star sometimes. And I think spending time with you guys, I think you guys are living very much in that same place. And spending time with you guys and Jenny, I agree, is such a huge part of it and such a wonderful artist herself, I think. And I think in that way, I think we just love spending time with you guys and with your studio and love hearing about everything that's going on, just because I really do think that, selfishly, just like this podcast, just like many things, we always walk away from it feeling like, I feel like we just took. And we really appreciate, getting to spend time with you guys. I think it's really important for us and really meaningful.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly how we feel anytime we spend time with you. We're the ones that end up walking away with the goods.
Very cool.
Well, thank you guys. It's been really amazing to just hear just a small part of the journey, and you know, we just can't stop talking about you when we are not with you guys, and just we're definitely watching the ceremony, and you know, no matter what the result is, it's such an amazing achievement, and then with the new upcoming projects, we're just so excited to hear what's going to happen. If there's anything we can, you know, be a part of, or be any of a help, we're definitely there at any moment. So please let us know. And again, thank you so much for such an inspiring stars for us to follow.
Thank you, Dice.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, we're here for you too. You know, if there's anything we can do to help you guys keep on your course.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.